Hi, and welcome to our program. Today we are visiting the exhibition Bodies here at Mosgaard Museum. Anthropology students made this exhibition from scratch in only 5 weeks. Let's talk to two of those students. Hi Alberta.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
How are you doing?
I'm good, yeah.
And you were from this group also, as Magnus was, right?
In the drag group.
And you were in charge of sound?
Yeah. With two other people, we kind of created the sound while also like communicating with the rest of the group.
So it's this sound that we hear, and also what comes from the small
from the headphones.
Okay.
But there is like a soundscape in the whole room where we've collaborated with the other groups, with the other themes, where we try to kind of fit all the themes so it was a sound that could be used to all of the separate exhibitions. And then every 2 minutes we have kind of like localized speakers. So we've made like a more specific sound for our exhibition. So maybe in a minute you will hear that there comes kind of makeup sounds right here. And it's different for the other exhibitions as well.
Okay. Wow, because when I was talking with Magnus about how it was in between the groups and in between the same group, like with the tasks, I was hearing the sound. I was like, how did they decide? Like, how is it? How did they reach a compromise on so many people agreeing with the same type of sound? So I'm guessing that was a very long process.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that we were also kind of pressed with time. So at that point we were compromising quite a lot.
Yeah.
I thought if we had more time, I think we would discuss it a lot more.
Yeah.
But we basically sat down and brainstormed it. What would we like the kind of feeling and like how should the sound affect the way you're going around all these exhibitions? So we've kind of taken like a slow like the tempo is completely down because we want to kind of have like the bodily experience of walking in here and kind of walking through and kind of focus on how you also use your body in this exhibition.
Yeah. Like reflection.
Yes.
Also.
So something that wasn't too distracting.
Yeah.
And then we have these localized sounds, which was a lot easier because then we were a lot less people to decide what it should do. Yeah.
And in here it was the like makeup sound.
It was a lot of makeup sounds, a lot of hairspray sounds.
Okay.
Like the kind of because a lot of makeup sounds is not really.
There's not really so many.
There was not a lot of volume, you know. So we kind of used the ones that were kind of like sharp sounds. So a lot of hairspray, a lot of foundation, lids opening and closing and stuff like that.
And like the brushes, like.
Yeah, and the brushes kind of mingling together and the sounds of them clicking.
Yeah, because actually when you're actually doing your makeup, there's not really any sounds, or there is like the breathing or something.
Exactly.
Or if you have some music in the background or something, but it's not a very, So how did you record those sounds? Was it here? Did you have a special place to do that you were allowed to do those things?
We had a recorder. And we actually recorded a lot of the sounds ourselves. Yeah. So we also had heels. Actually, one of our informants gave us a pair of heels because they were too small for him. So we actually walked around the halls in heels and kind of having the recorder down there to get like a good sound of the heels walking. And the hairspray, like I was at home, I recorded most of the sounds to that one, where I just stood with the hairspray and just, so it's kind of like just where you are and where there's kind of
something
quiet, not a lot of disturbances. But it was also fine if there was people talking in the background, but we can also use that sound. It wasn't like difficult in that way. We had to get creative.
So you were also editing and everything.
Editing and everything basically.
Okay. So what was your biggest challenge in here with this exhibition? I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun, to be honest, but also super stressful.
Very stressful. I think like the overall for the exhibition and as a group, it was difficult to kind of structure how everything was going to go because some people were behind with the sound, but the film was ready. But you had to turn in the film and the video before the sound and stuff like that. So these deadlines was really difficult to meet, especially so like in a more individual level. It was very difficult for me to edit sound. I've never done it before, and we were just told that we had to download this program, and then
just work with it.
We had a few tips from our professor, and then basically we set ourselves and tried to play with it and tried to make it sound like something that is, you know, professional, or what you can say. But the whole technical aspect of editing sound was a really big challenge for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And on the other side, what was your favorite part of the exhibition?
Oh, that was actually the field work.
The field work?
Yeah. Also, I loved like getting to edit the sound afterwards and talking about it, because we were really excited about this exhibition, getting something practical in our hands instead of reading all the time. I think everybody needed that at that point. But the whole aspect of field work, because it was so interesting to go out to drag shows and
and your topic was really cool to
getting backstage and stuff like that. And me and Magnus, we went to Copenhagen with Joe, and that was also an experience. We were at like a nightclub and had to go around and film and stuff like that. So that is something I've never done before like that. So I thought that was the most fun. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It is.
Okay. So is there anything you would like to add about it, or should we start going around?
I think we can go around. Yeah.
Okay. So we're in this corner here.
Yeah. This is kind of like the things that the drag queens and kings have under the costume. So that is what is really like modifying their body to represent a female, male, or everything in between. And this is specific for drag kings, so a female who wants to appear more masculine. And this one is a binder, which makes your chest flat.
Like, does it hurt?
Yeah, there's actually a rule you can wear it for more than a couple hours, because then it's unhealthy. So it's pretty much, and a lot of trans people use that as well. To flatten
for
chest.
Long periods of time, that's super dangerous.
Exactly. But FOMO, which is one of the formats, she uses that one, is actually the one that she uses, that she loaned. And then there's the packer, which is basically trying to simulate male genitalia. So there's like boxers, and then there's this kind of thing that is supposed to give this illusion.
I never thought about this either.
No, and that is we didn't know it either before we talked with her. But yeah, she also uses that to appear more masculine. Yeah. And then there's a lot of these bras and a lot of stockings with socks in, and in that way, the way that the stockings have been tied is actually a function, because other than kind of simulating that they have boobs, the kind of little knot is supposed to simulate a nipple. Yeah. 2 in 1. Yeah, to make it more realistic.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a lot of different techniques that they use to make it as realistic as possible. And they put socks in their bras and all these kind of stuff to have that. So these are kind of like the most physical things that drag kings and queens use to modify.
Yeah, like this all makes sense. In my head, it was I thought it was more like how can I explain? This was not so taken into consideration. You know, like this is hidden-ish, so let's just leave it as it is. It's but this is like a whole other level than what I had imagined in my head.
Yeah.
Especially if it's painful. Like this is another level of commitment to it.
And that's actually one of the things that they say is like it's painful. It is painful, but I think because it's for a short time of like a short amount of time, they know they get out of it at some point.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of behind it. That's also what we kind of wanted to kind of strip away what people see when they meet them and see what actually is the work behind and getting all those like kind of displayed out. So kind of like taking everything from each other and just showing the different parts.
Yeah. And even if it's only painful for short amounts of time, like maybe in the long term, maybe it has other type of consequences that that I don't know, people don't know about it yet, or it hasn't been researched yet, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bit scary to think about, like the long term consequences of.
But
they
they love doing it and they love putting it on, and they also love taking it off.
Yeah, that must be.
So yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah. Do you want to go to the videos next?
Yeah, sure. So we have 3 drag artists that we've made like a video portrait of. And the way we've done it is that we've made the sound first. So we've made the sound, then the video has been edited so it matches the sound first. Okay. And we have FOMO, which is a drag king, and her name is Emilie. And then we have Bryn, which is Brynhilde, and also Rasmus, which is Victoria Valencia. So right now it's playing FOMO's video. And personally, I was in charge of Victoria Valencia, which is he's 20 years old. 20, yeah. And found him on Instagram actually, and just messaged him and was like, "Do you want to do this?" And he didn't answer for a long time, and suddenly he was like, "Can I please still join? Sorry, I haven't answered. And I was like, okay, we've basically already collected all the other stuff. And then we got there, and he was just the nicest person ever. So we saw him kind of like in makeup when we came in. And then we went out in the city, took a lot of photos, made people stare, stuff like that.
So that was in Aarhus?
Yes. So we just walked out on the streets, and when he came back, he took it all off, and I was so surprised about how he looked. I did not imagine he looked like that. But basically what we wanted with these portraits was to hear the motivation for doing drag and what they thought their body had to do with drag and what their body could do with drag. So that is basically just also an extra kind of thing where we take them behind the scenes. Yeah. So like most of the footage you will see is them not in drag, but out of it, and trying to explain what is their idea with the character, what do they want to express when they're in drag and stuff like that. And and they're very different because FOMO is like a drag king, and Bryn and Brynhilde, she is like trans femme, so but she's still a drag queen. So I think a lot of people have the idea that you can just be male and turn into female, or male into and stuff like that, but she's kind of like something in between. So we thought that aspect of it was really interesting of also having in here.
What does she tell about it? Like, because as you said, this is like the common, how do you call it?
Jeg har lige en meddelelse til Freja. Det var en meddelelse til Freja. Hvis du har mistet din bog, så kan du lige hente den over ved billetsindtjek.
Nice. Is it?
Yeah, I think it's finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was I gonna ask? Yeah, what does she say about it? Because as you were saying, the general idea is that you can either be a female and then become a drag king, or the other way around. So what does she have to say about this extra aspect that she has to handle? Kind of?
I think that we don't have it in the interview, but I think she called it that she had a feminine energy, which had a masculine package.
Okay.
She described it that way, but in her opinion, a beard and a hair, chest on the hair. Oh, sorry, hair on the chest is also feminine, and walking in Birkenstocks and being comfortable is not feminine. Because I think what we see normally on the most mainstream about drag is that high heels, wig, stuff like that, where she kind of takes some of these parts out of drag and kind of have everyday clothing.
So she kind of shapes the drag concept to fit her.
Yes, her own idea of it, and kind of does not fit into the mainstream drag idea about a drag queen, which is also very interesting. And as you can see now, where the video is not playing is you can see them before and after drag. So.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Should we go to the makeup booth?
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned earlier that some of these things are yours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, were.
It were some of my things, but the thing was that a lot of makeup would be destroyed in the freezer. And so everyone kind of went home and looked if there was something they could gift to this exhibition. And I think I have a highlighter, I have the eyeshadow palette, the pink lipstick, stuff like that. And the nails was actually Fata Morgana, or like Morgana Le Fay.
So
it was her nails,
Okay, some of the people also gave things for the exhibition, people that you interviewed.
People that did not need them. Some things like the wigs is something that is borrowed and they're gonna get back, but everything else here is something that we've kind of collected. So the wigs can still be used after being frozen and everything. So only the makeup. The wigs is not are not destroyed by it, but the makeup is. So that was kind of where we had to get a little bit creative about collecting it. We didn't want it to look empty here. So I think we kind of and some things we also bought from new. But we mostly want something that was already used to kind of have that used up appearance. Because that is something we also noticed doing our field work, that the makeup table was a mess. It was a mess. There was foundation everywhere. There was powder and everything, and we kind of also want to kind of simulate that. So buying all new stuff would feel like it was
like it's completely set up, kind of like not a real.
So we wanted something that was used up.
And we were talking before with Magnus about the process being like super mesmerizing, and then you were adding something afterwards when we were talking about this little story. A little while ago I went in here with my friend because I had to show her the exhibition, and then we came around here and there was a whole family standing looking at this. It was like this is so relatable.
And I think the father and the brothers just stared like it was really just what is happening. And then the older sister kind of like explained completely what she was doing in the process. And I think like we also was here quite a long time, so they were standing here for 20 minutes or so with the sister just explaining to her brothers and her father what.
Jeg har lige meddelelse til Freja. Det var meddelelse til Freja. Du skal lige henvende dig i billetindtjekket.
Yes. As I was saying, but they stood here for 20 minutes just where the sister explained to a family what was going on. And normally, I don't associate that my father would stand here and just watch that. I think he would be bored, but I think something in this setting kind of make people stop. That's the experience from that story. Actually, it's here that people stop and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Magnus was also saying that this is so private, it's so close. You can totally imagine yourself being that person that reflects being you. Yeah, I do think it's a lot about the setting that this information is presented on, that makes people also like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And things that are like usually not. That's something that males don't really know so much about.
Yeah.
Again, a very broad and general idea. They're just curious, like how this happens.
But I also think that this is a theory, I don't know, but I think that men can relate in some way because they also look themselves in the mirror and kind of also get ready in the morning. And I know it's a very simple thing and it's not as extensive maybe and not as time consuming, but I think it makes relatable that men can also see that they do also look themselves in the mirror. And because it's another picture, it doesn't make that experience less, correct.
Yeah. Cool. Shall we go to this part and finish up this?
Yeah. So this is wigs, of course, and we've just tried to show the different aspects of the length and the variety. So a lot of Victoria Valencia had short hair in a lot of her drag performance, and she likes like a puffed up short hair.
Okay.
Because she's
like similar to
but
this,
a lot
but
more
with,
volume. Because she's, as she describes, she's the crazy aunt. But also when we first met her, she had a long red-haired wig, and also.
So this is all from her?
No, actually this is mine. I used it at a costume party, but we thought that we were kind of missing a wig that had like a medium length. Yeah. So kind of like just illustrating all the different kinds of things that you can use to kind of modify and use it in drag performance.
Yeah.
So that is basically, just showing what can be done and all the different options.
Yeah. So there's the hair, there's like the physical changes, and then there's makeup. Yeah. Basically, those are like the three pillars, and then also obviously the behavior changes, like how you move.
How the body, and that is also interesting because a lot of the time they kind of pinpointed one point where there was like, okay, now my body moves differently. I think for FOMO it was the beard, or the mustache. So when she had that on, drew that on, after that she was totally in the FOMO character and moved more masculine, as she described it, like more like the chest up and stuff like that. So that's also like one of the things that I find very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Did they say during the interviews, how was this process of getting used to moving your body differently? As in, was there a time that this change had to be like, they had to be aware of it? They were like, okay, now I need to do this, and now it came to the point that it's just like, okay, I have the mustache on, and it just goes like they don't really need to think about it anymore. Did they talk about it? Yeah,
in the start, because you have to kind of get used to dressing up. But I think that they are also the kind of people who enjoys it. So I think everybody has a thing where they feel like, now I'm myself. Now I look like myself. Now I feel like myself. And I think it's the same for drag artists.
So it's like, okay, I can let go and do whatever. Exactly. So I think that everybody has something where they're like, I feel more like myself now. And I think that's the same with the drag artists, just because they use more
kind of extreme modifications or what, kind of that. Yeah.
Okay.
This is embodied loss, so it's a lot about how the body reacts to losing another body. So that could be like a relative dying, it could be a breakup, it could be that friends that fall apart, and how the body experiences that kind of loss. And the way that they've kind of chosen to express that in here is that they've taken the different objects that the informants kind of relate to the other body they've lost.
Yeah.
So this, for example, is I think the mother, which had like a silk scarf that she gave to her daughter, which is the one who's talking here, because they had like the scent of her mother. So in that way, she associates the silk scarves with her dead mother.
Yeah.
And the same with other things, like there's flowers, there's the broken bottles.
And this is what is
that's
exhibit in this part.
Yeah, that's what is from the.
And how did it come to these objects? Was it through field work, basically talking with people and seeing which objects like kind of triggered? I don't know if this is the correct expression to use in this case.
I think it was through the interviews. They had a lot of interviews with people, and then I think as they ask more, it kind of comes up naturally.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that we also taught in anthropology is that we do not, or we strive not to kind of ask questions that is implicit or that we want them to answer like in a certain way. We try to make them just answer the way they want to answer it. So a lot of the things that come up here is something that is just during the interview.
Okay.
And
so they based this exhibition a lot in the interview itself. There was not so much of a specific image, kind of what it looked like. It would be just go to the interviews and see what.
That is also like the general thing about this exhibition is that nothing is prepared beforehand. We have an idea, but we are taught that if the interview shows something different or something, we have to throw that idea away and come up with a new one.
That was it for this program, but stay tuned for the next one. In the meantime, don't forget to check our Facebook page, BURT, for updates on our schedules and programs. See you soon.